Why this works. Sauce Bigarade is the sauce that made canard à l'orange, duck with orange sauce, famous in the French repertoire. But the original, historical version of this sauce uses bitter orange, Bigarade, not the sweet oranges that most modern recipes substitute. The distinction is important. Bitter orange has a more complex, aromatic, slightly resinous quality that is closer to a perfume ingredient than to the orange juice in a glass. It is what gives the sauce its characteristic edge. The structure of the sauce has three elements layered together: a gastrique base, a duck fond, and bitter orange. The gastrique, equal parts sugar and vinegar, caramelized together, contributes both caramel's depth and vinegar's acid in a single pre-built component. When added to the duck fond, the caramel sweetness mellows the fat and the acid cuts through it simultaneously. This is not an accident. The gastrique was designed for precisely this role in game sauces. The duck fond is the savory infrastructure. A properly made fond from roasted duck bones is dark, gelatinous, and deeply concentrated. It provides the body and umami that holds the other elements up. Without it, the sauce becomes sweet orange vinegar rather than a sauce. If you don't have duck fond, a good dark chicken stock, reduced by half, is a reasonable substitute. The flavor will be lighter, but structurally sound. The bitter orange juice goes in late and cooks only briefly. This is deliberate. Orange juice, like lemon juice, loses its fresh citrus character quickly when heated. The volatile aroma compounds that make Bigarade smell the way it does evaporate readily, leaving behind a flatter, cooked juice note. 3 to 5 minutes of gentle simmering is enough to marry the flavors without flattening them. The cold butter mount at the end adds gloss and a final richness, and also raises the serving viscosity to a sauce rather than a liquid. The technique is identical to beurre blanc or any mounted butter sauce. Cold butter whisked off heat into a warm, not boiling liquid. Common mistakes. Sweet orange instead of bitter. Target: bitter orange, Bigarade or Seville, or 3-to-1 orange to lemon juice as substitute. Why it matters? Sweet oranges lack the resinous, slightly bitter character that defines the sauce. The dish was specifically designed for bitter orange's unique aromatic profile. What to do? Look in winter, Jan-Feb, at specialty grocers or order online. Marmalade is a last resort substitute. Workarounds: no Bigarade, 3 parts orange plus 1 part lemon juice. Acid balance, or 1 tablespoon Seville marmalade dissolved into the fond. Burning the gastrique. Target: dark amber, color of dark honey. Pull off heat at 165 to 175 degrees Celsius, not black. Why it matters? Black caramel tastes acrid, irreversibly ruins the sauce. Dark amber gives the bittersweet depth that defines a proper gastrique. What to do? Watch constantly from 150 degrees Celsius. Swirl the pan, never stir. Pull it amber, plunge bottom in cold water briefly to stop the cook. Workarounds: burned, start over, cannot rescue. Under reducing the fond. Target: fond reduced to coat a cold spoon before gastrique or orange added. Why it matters? Thin stock equals thin sauce. The fond's gelatin is what provides body and lets the gastrique orange integrate without floating on top. What to do? Reduce by half to 2/3 before tasting for body. Cold spoon test confirms. Workarounds: don't have duck fond? Strong dark chicken stock reduced by 60%. Lighter result, but functional. Boiling after butter mount. Target: off heat when butter goes in. Never reheat above warm, 60 degrees Celsius. Why it matters? Cold butter mounted into hot sauce forms an emulsion that breaks if reheated. Once the butter is in, no more cooking. What to do? Plate immediately, or hold in a warm bain-marie, no direct heat. Workarounds: broke, strain through fine mesh, whisk in 1 tablespoon warm reserved fond off heat, partial rescue. Unblanched zest. Target: blanch zest 2 minutes in boiling water before adding to sauce. Removes pith bitterness. Why it matters? Bitter orange zest has more pith than sweet orange. Without blanching, the sauce becomes harsh and one-dimensionally bitter. What to do? Strip zest first, no white pith. Boil 2 minutes, drain, then add. Workarounds: quick alternative. Use only the colored zest, yellow-orange surface, peeled thin with a vegetable peeler. What to look for gastrique? Deep amber, color of dark honey, no black, fragrant. Set aside to cool slightly before adding to fond. Reduced fond coats the back of a spoon, leaves a line when you drag a finger. After adding orange, bright citrus aroma rises from the pan. 3 to 5 minutes simmering, no longer. Butter mount, Sauce turns glossy, slightly thick, smooth. Do not boil. Final taste. Savory first, then sweet acid from gastrique, then citrus, slight bitterness last. Chef's view. Sauce Bigarade, a classical French sweet acid bitter sauce, traditionally served with roast duck, is not made often at home because bitter oranges are genuinely difficult to source outside of their winter season, and outside France, they can be nearly impossible. When they are available, from specialty grocers or online citrus importers around January, they are worth seeking out. The flavor difference between a Bigarade made with real Bigarade oranges and one made with sweet orange juice is significant enough to explain why this sauce was classical in the first place. The gastrique. Caramelized sugar dissolved in vinegar to make a single sweet and sour element is the transferable technique here. Once you understand how caramelized sugar and vinegar combine to make a sweet acid base, the same logic applies to cherry gastrique, raspberry gastrique, quince gastrique, any pairing where the richness of game or liver needs an acid-sweet counterpoint. Chef Tuss notes, I tested the sauce with 3 orange preparations. Fresh bitter oranges, classical, sweet orange juice plus lemon, 1:3 ratio, and jarred Seville orange marmalade, a thick citrus preserve made from bitter oranges, sugar and water, dissolved in the fond. The fresh Bigarade version was best. Complex, aromatic, slightly perfumed. The juice blend was good, cleaner than the marmalade version, but lacking depth. The marmalade version produced an acceptable substitute with noticeable jam quality that felt more modern than classical. For authenticity, fresh Bigarade.